voice and sing, no matter how hard it gets. If we believe, if we long for social justice, for equity, for the freedom from oppression, from injustice, for all humanity, then we cannot cease to lift our voices. And until the systems of race and injustice in the United States and Germany and everywhere else in the world cease to exist, we cannot cease to lift our voices, to speak truth and light and justice into all the darkness. And we cannot cease to lift every voice and to stand in solidarity with those who day after day are confronted with hate and injustice. On behalf of the American Church in Berlin, welcome. My name is Denise Banks-Grasedyck, and as curator and director of the talks, I once again have the honor of leading us through this portion of our Walk the Talk initiative for social justice. So our goal is to stand with our brothers and sisters to overcome the struggles and injustices so prevalent in our society and in the world, and that are so damaging to all of us. And for the past 9 weeks, we've come together to show our solidarity, to show our support, especially for our Black brothers and sisters who are suffering tremendously at this time under systems of race, systems so deeply interwoven into our society that we are often shocked by what we see, by what we discover as we seek truth and understanding, and as we work together to do what must be done to bring about a society that is equitable and just for all people. So if you're joining us for the first time today, would you mind raising your hand? Super. We want to extend a special welcome to you, and we are happy and grateful to have you here today. Today's talk is called Not on My Watch, and we'll be talking about responding to racism and to racist behavior in our everyday lives. And you might be surprised to find how many opportunities we have to do that. Over the past few weeks, we've been exploring different themes, and today is about putting what we've learned into action. So if you've seen the news, social media the last couple of days, you will surely understand that dismantling the systems of race is a huge undertaking. I mean, we've been at it for 9 weeks and we're not done yet. It's an undertaking that requires every single person who cares to join in not just this moment, but a movement. And I don't exaggerate when I say it is a matter of life or death. We say not on my watch. Why should you care? Why should you be the one to speak up, to talk about these things? I invite you just to join me for a moment. It is a hot summer day. The sun is high in the sky, and the grass just across from our home is high and dry. I'm about 5 and I'm playing with my cousin John. John is my partner in crime, my partner in everything. And we are playing with fire because what could possibly happen on a dry, hot Louisiana summer day just across from a big field of grass? So we're taking turns and we are lighting small fires. He'll light a fire, I put it out. I light the fire, he puts it out. And then we come upon an old shoe, and it is made of cloth and leather and wood. And it takes forever to light. And we keep trying, and we keep trying, and we keep trying. And suddenly, a gust of wind comes along, and it begins to grow, this fire. And I say, John, put it out. And he says, no, wait just a minute. No, now you put it out. No, John, it's your turn. Put it out. And it begins to grow until flames are shooting up. My father's in the kitchen. He looks out, sees the flames outside the window. Hello? This is Melvin Banks. We've got a fire at 117 East Ash. The irony of that street name. The fire department comes. What else happens? I don't actually remember in the excitement. They work and get the fire under control, and the moment comes that I have been dreading, because at some point as the fire has died down, the excitement dies down. My father says, little girl, what happened? Now, thinking quickly, I realized that if I say John did it, they're going to know I was involved. We're two peas in a pod. If he says I did it, they're going to know he was involved. We're two peas in a pod. Just then, my baby brother, Kevin, waddles across the room, and I think, he's a baby. He's not going to get in trouble. Daddy, it was Kevin. I told him not to play with the matches, but I don't know what happened. I guess he did. And to my horror, for the first time, my father, 6-foot Army veteran, big man, takes off his belt, wraps it around his fist, and begins to spank me on my brother. I run to my room and I throw myself in the bed. I can't listen. Daddy, stop, it wasn't me. And it's over, but the guilt is eating me up. I've been crying for hours, and finally I just go to my dad and I say, it wasn't Kevin, it was me. And instead of spanking me, which I really wish he had, my dad picked me up, put me on his knee and said, little girl, you let me spank your baby brother for something you did? I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in you. I would have rather had the spanking. My father said, it doesn't matter what you do, right or wrong, you take responsibility for what you do. And there were 2 lessons that I learned that day. One is indeed, right or wrong, for better or worse, you take responsibility for what you did. And the other lesson is that it doesn't matter who starts the fire. You can still take responsibility for putting it out. And that's what we're talking about today. And that's why we say, not on my watch. The first flicker of a flame, when you see it, not on my watch. So why do we respond? Because when we don't respond, our silence speaks volumes. Our silence says, it reinforces a collective norm that says, this behavior it's okay. I'm going to look away, or it's okay. When we are silent, our silence alienates the person, those who are already being victimized, and it says, yes, you are alone in this. I'm not even going to look. Our silence reinforces that ignorance is an excuse. Ever heard the term ignorance of the law is no excuse? Meaning, if you commit a crime and you go, oh, I did not know that was illegal, guess what? No one cares. You still are responsible for that. And this is why when we see racist behavior, behavior that discriminates, that hurts, that alienates. This is why we speak up. And if the person says, well, I didn't even think that was racism, I didn't know. It's our responsibility to take what we have learned and show them how their behavior is hurtful and inappropriate and something that we don't allow in our own space. Because we're responsible for what we can't stop someone else from being racist. So when someone says, I'm not black, it doesn't really affect me, so why should I speak up? Even, I've also heard people of color say, well, I've had a different experience. Yes, our experiences all differ, and we are still all affected by the systems of race, we see it now. We see the division that these systems cause. We see the impact that it has from small children up, through the rest of our lives. Just 2 days ago, a 61-year-old disabled veteran was killed in a Trader Joe's parking lot. Why? This is reminiscent of Emmett Till, because he asked 2 young white girls for money. Our experiences differ. We still speak up because it's the right thing to do. And because even if you think it doesn't affect me now, the system is transferable. So you can put in any number of things that might separate you from the majority. It could be gender, it could be age, it could be ethnicity, sexual orientation. The systems that are at work, that are created to dehumanize us, to demoralize us, to disenfranchise us, they work in different contexts. Now, most of them are not as pervasive as the system of race that we're talking about, which those of you who were here at some of the other talks know that we started out looking at how did this get started and brought it all the way back up to today, and we still see the connection. And as a person of color, you may not have experienced all of these, you may not have experienced the microaggressions at a level where you think, okay, that's unacceptable. And you may not have had people chasing you down the street. And still, you don't need to have that experience to recognize that this isn't something that's acceptable. So how do we keep watch? We want to talk about taking our watch seriously. So we want to talk about the systems of discrimination, of bias, of racist behavior, and call it out every time, using that language that we talked about, rather than, you are racist. Can you tell me more about how you see that being just? Can you tell me more about that? How do you see that as being fair? Being curious, questioning. Take it home. Again, it's great to be in this safe space. And now, as we go forward, it's each of our jobs to create a safe space for our family, for our friends, even when there are times when I can promise you, you will be shaking with the desire to just shake someone and go, are you serious? Can you really believe that? Breathe deeply, because no one's ever been hated into loving anyone else. And we have to be firm in what we believe, and we also have to understand that there are people who are doing things that they could change. They could change if you open the door for them. And it's going to require some patience, and it's going to require sometimes you walking out of the room, especially if it's someone that you care about. and say, you know, I care enough about you to know that it's time to end this conversation for today. Talk about this with in your clubs, in your church. This is a good spot. We're taking this medicine to the battleground rather than waiting for the people who are, let's call it an illness, but there is a cure. Rather than waiting for them to come to us, we're taking it to them. So and what else can you do? How do you keep watch? You live out diversity. It's easy to believe that racism, that racist behavior, that all of these things that we are seeing aren't really real if everyone around you looks like you. It's very easy to believe that you are not biased if everyone around you has similar views. And it is a challenge, and sometimes it is aggravating, sometimes it is heartbreaking to be in a space where you are challenged time and time again. Challenges make us grow. It's kind of like, anybody here like to work out? I'm not raising my hand. Okay. We have one person shyly going, I do. It's okay to work out. But what happens is that you go out and you are breaking down your muscles and they're sore and they hurt, but you come back stronger. And it's a little bit like that when you've had one of those really intense discussions, those intense encounters with someone who hasn't quite got it yet. And you leave and you're like, wow, did I just get beat up? All right, round 2. So educate yourself, continue to do what we've been doing here. Just soak it up. We have so much access to, we've got podcasts, we've got, and vary those sources. Don't just go to one source. We've got podcasts, we've got social media, TED Talks, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, sports clubs, book clubs. Surround yourself with different people. Now, I'm not talking about get in a really toxic space and just go like, I'm just going to wallow in it. Because you also need people who are providing a safe space for you to talk about things and to be able to stand for the things that you believe in. And we all need that. We all need that support network. So, another way to keep watch is to put our money where our mouths are. And part of that is when we are looking at, we want things to change. There are a lot of people out there doing a lot of good work. And many times they are doing it just based on the financial support of like-minded people. Because there isn't a lot of massive institutional support for this work. So think about that. If you're going to buy a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, at least try to buy it from a Black owner-operated business. And I know this is a challenging part, politics. Sometimes we like to not talk about politics. And we are at a point where that is not an option. It's not an option to not talk about politics because politics create policies, and until the policies change, the system cannot change. And when I say that, we might think, there's a big election coming up. Every opportunity that you have to affect a policy, a political change, whether it's here in Germany at every level, whether it is in the United States, not just every 4 years, but making sure that you are voting in those local elections and researching the people that you are voting for. I don't know if I shared this before, but The first time I did this and actually looked at candidates at the state level, I was, I'm going to say, mortified, having done just a little bit of research. I'm like, oh my goodness, I would have voted for this person. Just kind of looking like, oh, it's just state election. Looks good, cross it. All it takes is a quick sweep of Twitter, Facebook, and you will find amazing things out about candidates. Pay attention to the company they keep. It's important to remember that no one has eaten up all the wisdom on how to deal with these things. There are a lot of different voices on how to intervene when there's when you encounter racism, when you encounter injustice or discrimination. So what I'm trying to do is give you a basic framework and see what works. The first thing is check yourself. Ask, why do I want to intervene in this situation? Is it because I want to be a hero? If that is the answer, stop. This is what people talk about when they say, don't be a white savior. Don't be a white savior. And again, this is a safe space. I am not judging. We are not here to judge each other. We're here to look at how do we check our own motivations so that we can act on the things we believe in a way that's going to move things forward. So check yourself. Why do I want to do this? And is it just because I'm hearing a lot about it? Is it being in the moment? Or am I really being part of this movement? Because if you are in it, we're in it for the long haul. This isn't going to stop next week. Although as hopeful as I am, as much as I wish it would, I'm kind of getting the feeling that it's going to take a little longer. Although it can change. The more we grow this group, the more we're going to move ahead. Guilt. I feel guilty because all these bad things have happened. We have to let go of guilt. Forget guilt. You didn't create this system. Just recognize that we are all part of it. Recognize what our role is in it and take responsibility. My guilt in that story didn't help anybody. I felt guilty. I was crying. My brother's bum was still red hot. I felt miserable, and my father had been deceived. Guilt helped no one. Taking responsibility does. If you want to help because you say, this is who I am, this aligns with my values, you're on the right track. Because that will also inform the way that you approach the conversation. If you say, I want to live in a world where anyone can walk down the street without fear of being chased down, pulled out of, or dragged in front of a vehicle and shot. Seems fair enough. And if you decide that's the kind of world you want to live in, that's a good reason to intervene. If you want to live in a world where all little kids can look in the mirror and say, I'm pretty, I'm beautiful, or I'm okay just the way I am, that's a good reason to intervene. And it's going to inform the way that you approach the conversation because you're going to use those words. That's not okay because that's not the way, that's not what I allow in my space. I don't allow people to talk to other people that way. Before you take action, make sure you're going to be safe. Make sure the person that you want to intervene on their behalf, make sure they're going to be safe. She was part of an interracial couple. Her fiance, black, she's white. I always speak up, and I don't let anybody tell us anything. And if we get stopped by the police, and my fiance is always like, oh, calm down. That's because he's trying to stay alive. Don't let your need your desire to jump in, put someone else's life in danger. You're always going to want to speak up, and you're also going to want to be sure that the person that is being victimized is going to be safe. So you can ask the person, how would you like for me to help? What should I do? When you leave here, if you happen to encounter something on the street, I want you to feel like, okay, I can say something. And by the way, you're probably not going to be like, yes, this is my chance. You're probably going to be like, darn it. I was kind of hoping this wasn't going to come up. Sarah,